Alright, we're on our last album of the day for our 6 days, 60 albums project for Blue Suede Reviews, doing mini reviews of all of the albums released in Elvis's lifetime, at least as they appear in the RCA albums box set released by Sony Legacy. It's 1960. Elvis has just left the army. He's returned home to America, left Germany, and Elvis is back. Elvis is back is as you can see here in living stereo, and much has been written about the fact that Elvis's sound changed pretty dramatically between when he left for the army and when he came back. And in retrospect, it's pretty obvious because we now have home recordings available to us from when Elvis was in the army. We can hear him toying around with some of the songs that actually appear on this album, like Soldier Boy is one that appears. There's another home recording that's not actually in this box set, but of him doing a song called There's No Tomorrow, which eventually rewrote and became It's Now or Never. And so Elvis has come back and he's got more of this easy listening pop approach. Very different from his rock and roll. But you wouldn't necessarily notice that if you just listen to this album on its own. And that's interesting to me. Going back and listening to this as it stands on its own. It's Now or Never isn't on this album. Stuck on You isn't on this album. And you've got stuff like Such a Night, which was, I think, a Drifters song from the 50s. Reconsider Baby, Like a Baby, all stuff that Elvis would have been doing in the 50s. Make Me Know It it's certainly a fuller sound. The band has obviously been practicing while he's been away. But it's really not that different from what he was doing in the 50s. However, it is a lot tighter, and his vocal confidence is worlds apart from where he was in the 1950s, especially on songs like Fever. He's not over-singing it at all. He's very much turned into basically a crooner on some of these songs, and it's a phenomenal album to listen to. This album features an inside fold out that features pictures of Elvis in the army doing his soldierly duties, and as you can see over here, they're already marketing GI Blues, because wouldn't be a Colonel Parker product if they weren't plugging something. But for the most part, the music is the focus. Let's leave a picture on the backside. For the most part, the focus is the music, and the music is very much in line with Elvis's tastes and what he was doing at that time in his life, which was or what influenced him the most at that point in his life, which was old R&B records and basically what amounted to pop, easy listening. Stuff like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. It's actually quite fascinating that in 2015 they duetted a digital duet of Fever with Elvis and Michael Bublé, and it works pretty darn well. But even on its original configuration, even more pared down on this original version, it comes off very crooner-esque, very much in that vein. And the best track on the album is far and away Such a Night, the Drifters song. He has had so much fun on this album. It's sad, though, that this is actually one of the more underrated albums from his career. More people bought Blue or GI Blues than they did, and Blue Hawaii, than this one. Obviously, It's Now or Never was a hit. Stuck on You was a hit. But not this one, really. I mean, it was still a hit, but it's not really well looked upon in retrospect. Nobody, when you ask people what their favorite Elvis album is, this one doesn't necessarily come to mind, and it should. Because it was all recorded at the same session. It's one of his most cohesive sounding albums. And I would almost argue I would put this up with From Elvis in Memphis as an essential Elvis. Like, if you had to have just 3 Elvis albums, this would be one of them. Because he is covering so many genres and doing it so well. He's not misinterpreting it in any way. That he's clearly spent some time doing some soul searching as far as musicality is concerned. Doing that right back there that he's doing in the picture right there, playing piano, and it's paid off. And I just can't overstate how much how significant this album is in his continuity, even though it wasn't as big of a success as GI Blues. You really need to listen to this album if you've never given this album a chance before, in its original configuration too. It's really a phenomenal album. He's really strong vocally. He's got a great sense as far as the arrangements are concerned. The band is tight, and that ending to Such a Night is wild. It's right up there with the ending of Mystery Train. It's great. So that's it. That's the last one for the day, and we'll be back tomorrow, starting with GI Blues, and we'll see how far we get into these 60 albums in 6 days. So have a great Elvis week. Thank you very much. Didn't mean to do that. No, pretend I didn't say that. Phoebe says hi.